Hello. I'm here tonight for me. Sort of a, I guess, sort of I guess an unboxing. My nerd level's really been um, moving up in the last couple of years. So since the last few years, since we've my so close friends and I have gotten into Dungeons and Dragons more. Well, gotten into Dungeons and Dragons, and we've all kind of really been like about it more and more. And it's uh, the interest of it is really just sort of spiraled for some of us, and we'll sort of trade off who's DMing at a time. We haven't really finished too much, to be honest. Uh, I I have uh, the main. There's a couple ones I've been DMing, and the main one I have. The ones I've done have all been sort of just original stuff that I'm making, and I have an idea for the end game of this sort of big one. It's going to take a while, but eventually we'll do it. But one of my friends decided to do JP decided that he was going to run Curse of Strahd for us. I've been kind of hearing a little bit about this here or there, and everything, and I am a big vampire fan. I really like vampires. Um, there's some stuff in some forms and mythologies and stories that, some parts I like more than others. For example, the whole thing where, oh, you've been bit so you're infected. I hate that. It's a trope of vampire. I just like that sort of communicable disease sort of thing with that. It's just really, I don't know. We've already had that with zombies, and I don't know. I guess in a story way, it's annoying because it's like, oh, now you got to deal with everyone becoming a vampire. The mechanics of it just are really over the top for me and annoying. And I think it would be, in being such as this, it would be more of, I'm going to choose whom I am going to bring into this sort of fold. Now, as such, I was not aware of this until last week when we played, and the was it Vishanti? I think is the the Romani analog. No, Vistani. Sorry, Vistani is the analog for the Romani, and we were playing, and the sort of, I guess, matriarch of the camp brought out, not an Amazon, but a Tarroka deck. I did not realize that this was really a thing. I knew there was some sort of D&D like analog for tarot sort of things and everything else like that. But I was not aware that this really existed. And so, we kind of went through a reading with that and everything. And I don't know, because I don't have the book, how much of the reading was, all right, this is the reading that you give them in the book versus what JP actually pulled, and it sort of worked out. I'm guessing it's the first one, but I remember, I think it was whatever deck Campaign 2 and Critical Role was using, Jester was using, and of course I'm going to remember this because Jester might be my favorite Critical Role character, and that's saying a lot because I like a lot of them. But I think Jester might be my favorite character, and I think she. It seemed as if the reading she was kind of giving like the NPCs and the PCs and everything, were whatever deck they were using. It was like, oh well, these actually kind of make sense, and I know that there have been people in sort of roles or in times where it's like I kind of don't buy into this, but things kind of work out. That oh, this is actually kind of a thing that's actually working out a way. And my uncle, as he was doing his as a stage magician, and he would do things in the latter parts of his career, bringing some tarot stuff and also doing the mentalism sort of stuff and everything like that. And he was getting hits that was like, oh, this is actually kind of getting creepy. Like this is actually working out. So we went over whatever reading we were supposed to have, and I think it was a two-part one. It was like maybe there was a reading that was supposed to be given, and then he pulled some other cards, and that also seemed to work out. I don't know exactly again how it was in the actual campaign book, but it interested me. So, and he had, because he's doing stuff with kids sort of professionally, so he actually got the physical deck, and he was like found the card and was holding it up because we're doing all this stuff remotely. So because he had the physical deck, I got really interested in that. So it was is not only is this sort of uh, tarot like deck in D&D, which I'm you know more and more and more into like every time we do stuff, but it was also from Curse of Strahd, so one of the vampire campaigns. So there's a lot of boxes being ticked for my weird ass because I do like weird shit. So he sent me the deck that or the thing on Amazon, as you saw from the what is that envelope or packing slip or package or whatever the hell that is. Wait, why am I doing this? So I somewhat impulsively got my own Tarroka deck. Taking it just out of plastic. So this, I don't think I've ever really done an unboxing thing before like this, but it's just hitting a lot of nerd things, and it's now, the autumnal equinox, and this week is the beginning of our start. I'm working at Forest of Screams again, so we're starting this week and everything. So there's like a lot of things that are going on. Ages 12 and up. Good to know. So again, there's a little bit of sort of, let's see if we can see that a little bit better. Some designs on the deck there. So the back, it labels it Curse of Strahd with that as well. So the Vistani have long been masters of fortune telling. In the hands of a Vistani seer, Tarroka cards can tell tales of the future and provide answers to many dark and mysterious, question. There is, was it, many doors will be opened, many secrets will be revealed. Don't ask me how or why, just follow the message of the cards. Rudolf von Uchten. So this has 54 cards. It's handy for a trek through Barovia. As well as the Prophet's Gambit, a card game for 3 to 5 players. I'm guessing that's some sort of poker analog, then maybe, perhaps. So yeah, I'm being careful to say Vistani as a Romani analog because I think we all know what it's really supposed to be, and I'm not being that guy. I shouldn't say what's really supposed to be, what maybe they want to say it is, or 15 years ago what we would have said with that. Just ask Peaky Blinders and the old Wolfman movies from Universal. Okay, so real fast too. Although the workmanship and artistic quality of the cards can vary from deck to deck. The ability of the cards to call forth information about the future is far more valuable than the monetary worth of a deck. Anyone can craft a deck of Tarroka cards, but only someone of Vistani blood can imbue the cards with the gift of prophecy. Once they are crafted and empowered, they must be stored in accordance with the ancient tradition, or they lose their efficacy. When not in use, Tarot cards must be wrapped in silk and stored in a wooden box. So, they're hitting a lot of tarot tropes in terms of how you're supposed to store your cards, in terms of like aligning with them. Same way. It's almost the same way you would with like weapons or things like that in D&D. Where you've got to tune with them, sort of thing. And you're supposed to put an energy in them and make sure you're shuffling and moving and using them regularly. I do want to point out too, in terms of a sort of magical sense. Now I know a lot of stuff comes in for D&D in black boxes anyway, but if you're going to store some sort of divinatory tool or any sort of magical stuff that you're going to use in a black box bag, some sort of storage thing is ideally what you'd want to do. So the composition I'm reading right now off of 5e.tools. I first went to D&D Beyond, who I wouldn't say no to being sponsored, but I'm not sponsored by anybody at the moment. Please, someone sponsor me. And they really didn't have anything, so I just sort of did a general sort of search, and 5e.tools kind of came up with the fastest and kind of easiest one. So the composition Tarroka deck has 54 cards, each of which has its own name. That sounds exhausting to have created. 40 of them comprise the common deck, which is divided into 4 suits: swords, coins, stars, and glyphs. So there you have your minor arcana. It even has the 4 suits, and it's a slightly different number, obviously. And from what I can tell by reading through, the suits don't necessarily go one to one like they would. So swords in this isn't like swords in tarot. That is like intelligence and using the air element. These seem to be a little bit different, as I'll talk about later. But there is um, each suit contains cards numbers 1 through 9 plus a 10th card is called the master of the suit. So it doesn't have court cards, plural. It has a master of the suit. A card can be referred to by its suit designation or by its name. For instance, the 3 of glyphs is also known as the healer, and the wizard card is known as the master of stars. The remaining 14 cards make up the high deck, the trump cards or major arcana, which symbolizes the natural forces of the multiverse. These cards are represented by a crown symbol and are the most powerful cards of the deck. So, again, it's so this also seems to be that they're more sort of like platonic ideals, or like a bagua sort of symbol, a trigram or something, as opposed to the sort of magician's adept journey that the major arcana represents in tarot. But still, a delineation between these things, like a higher sort of meaning and purpose. So the high deck, the cards that compose the high deck aren't considered to be one suit, although they are often denoted with a crown icon to mark their importance. Rather, each card is an important power in its own right. If one of these cards comes out in a casting and seems to contradict the prediction of an earlier card, the Vistani always assume that this card takes precedence. So we have, I'm not going to go over what they represent or the meanings, but we have Artifact, Beast, Broken One, Dark Lord, Don John, Ghost, Executioner, Horseman, Innocent, Marionette, Mists, Raven, Seer, Tempter. So clearly more individual sort of things than sort of one leading to another. So, in the major arcana, you start with the Fool, and that's the sort of beginning of then the magician's like journey as they go on, and then you kind of go up and down, and go through that process of completing the great work. And that's kind of what that journey through the major arcana is. And then the minor arcana is more day-to-day sort of stuff. And this doesn't seem to have that same narrative streak to it. I haven't done a whole, again, this is only like less than a week ago. I haven't found out these really existed, so I haven't been able to really work or understand it too much, but it's interesting. So, yeah, each one of these has, man, that had to have been exhausting to come up with individual names for all of these. Hachi Machi. All right, the common deck, the 4 suits that represent the cards are described in more detail below. So, okay, swords, the suit symbolizes aggression and violence. So automatically setting apart from tarot swords, which are, air, the air element, wisdom. It doesn't look like, excuse me, these suits are representing any element sort of stuff. So it is the suit of warriors, be they paladins, soldiers, mercenaries, or gladiators. It also symbolizes the power of governments and leaders, whether noble or corrupt. So the star's suit symbolizes the desire for personal power and control over things beyond the ken of mortals. It is the suit of arcane mages, sages, and intellectuals. Almost feels like they could have come up with another name for that just to keep the rhyme going. It also represents the triumph of magic, science, and reason over religion, mysticism, and superstition. Okay. So we have swords as aggression, stars as power, coins, the suit symbolizes avarice and the desire for personal and material gain, which would actually kind of correspond a little bit more to coins or pentacles in tarot, because that's the earth element. So anything that would be, that sort of material gain would be in that. There's also symbolic of gluttony, lust, and obsession. On the side of good, this suit can suggest the accumulation of wealth for the benefit of a charity or a just cause. On the side of evil, it embodies the worst aspects of greed. It speaks to the power of gold and how that power can build or destroy nations. So we have then glyphs. Suit symbolizes faith, spirituality, and inner strength. It is the suit of priests and those who devote themselves to the service of a deity, a higher power, or heightened philosophy. On the side of good, it represents willpower and dedication. On the side of evil, the suit signifies weakness of character, self-doubt, and betrayal of one's ideals or beliefs. It symbolizes health and healing, as well as illness and disease. So, I mean, it sounds almost like this one would be a little bit more water, but still not really hitting that real elemental sort of thing. Now, I have a question about this that I don't know if it's going to be answered, but it might when we read lower and take a look at the deck. Oh, it's just showing me the decks here. Okay. So, the art's kind of neat on this. I'm just kind of scrolling to see if my question is going to be answered here. I don't see that it is going to be answered. This is talking about Barovia. No, but it looks like it is. Oh, here's the invitation. Oh, so okay, so this is just going into the letters more than anything else. Oh, this is apparently an appendices on 5e.tools. Well, you know how much I love Tolkien, you know how much I'm going to love appendices. Alright, that's just creatures and stuff. That's not what I want. Okay, so my question was, and I don't see it answered here, is whether or not there is inverted. So if you're familiar with tarot, if you get the card, depending upon how you shuffle it and etc., etc., you can get a card upside down. And if you get a card upside down, that's an inverted meaning with it. There are some people that will talk about it how, oh, it's all messed up and wrong now and everything's evil about, the sort of evil or good version of it. There are some that would just basically tell you, oh, well, it's the same meaning, as that there's now just some sort of difficulty with it. It's not, um, a clear sort of thing. So if you get a, card that would be like, hey, that's a good reading, but it's inverted, it's upside down, then okay, well, this can still go there. It's just going to be harder to do that. I don't see where it does that. So it looks, and oh, of course, there are some too. I forgot to turn my phone off. There are some too that don't use that at all because they say, hey, there's 72 cards in a tarot deck. If I'm supposed to get something that's troubling in some way, an inverted meaning or a meaning of sort of dis-ease based on this, one of these other cards is going to cover it. So if I'm meant to get that, then that's what's going to be the one that I get. So I'm not saying I'm not a tarot expert at all. I've sort of grown up with it in one form or another. My mom used to read tarot and learned it off and on, recovered it. My ex, we had tons of tarot and other divination decks. I have some other really good friends who will mention stuff like that and everything. So it's just sort of kind of a thing in my life. It's an interesting little thing. I like weird stuff. Tarot goes along with a lot of weird stuff, so I've absorbed some things over time with it. So it's a little tiny deck. Now I have paws more than hands, so my hands are sort of wider and thicker, and my fingers are kind of stubby than they are long. I'm like 6 foot tall, and I have kind of short hands. This is a small deck. So, I mean, you can see it's not exactly drowning my hands out here or anything else like that. It's probably, I would say, a little bit smaller than standard playing cards. Again, this is the D&D official, we made these things for you nerds to spend money on, to a company. If we had a live game, we weren't online with it, it would come in handy too, but I just sort of just want this for me. And part of me, I'm not going to lie, part of me thought, how interesting it would be, because again, I work at a haunted house, and I hang around doing weird stuff at weird places and things like that. So how interesting would it be, like all these like witchy stores or something like that, and tarot readings and tarot readings and tarot readings, tarot readings, and Reiki. I do Reiki too. But it's like, well, what if one of these, like I learned these really well, maybe brought in some runes or something like that, and some of becoming, last few years becoming more and more sort of Viking nerd. Norse mythology more than, or I recognize the problematic things of Norse culture back in the day. Everyone wants to like, oh, Vikings were awesome and pirates and ninjas. It was like these mobsters. Like, we're not talking about helpful people. These people went and, raped, robbed, and raided up and down the coast for a long time. Like, let's keep some historical perspective on this, please. But I think it'd be interesting. It's like you can offer a reading for someone about something that is not generally offered. It's not really a thing that gets used a lot. So I just kind of got this idea. It was like, man, what if I learn these, pick up a couple extra bucks, doing like readings for this, like like a witchy store or a carnival or a haunted house or something like that. It was just a weird idea that I had that came to me. It was like, oh, this could be. I could totally goth out, do my little vampire goth out sort of thing, which I'm going to do anyway. So might as well get frickin' paid for it. Okay, so this is the back. Interesting little design on it there, you know. And there's that sort of shadow thing. Nice and shiny because these are brand new. Interesting little design. I don't know how to really describe it, to be honest with you. I could probably turn a light on, and that would probably help me be able to see things. But screw that. Okay, so it looks like it's kind of got, I'm guessing these are supposed to be ravens there in the middle, like one's kind of upside down, one's right way up. Pointy things pointing them. Oh, those supposed to be pens or fangs or what are that supposed to be? But I don't think this is actually supposed to be really anything more than this sort of like creepy stuff around. So yeah, it looks like smoke. Maybe it's supposed to be smoke, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, it's neat. Not really obvious. And so we go right in. So this would be an artifact. That's kind of what that looks like here. Did I leave that up? Yes, I did. Good. So artifact, I mean, this is the first of the high deck. The high deck being the major arcana. So this would be, I mean, if I don't know if this would be considered 0 or 1. You know, 0 would be the fool, 1 would be the magician, I believe. So artifact is the importance of some physical object that must be obtained, protected, or destroyed at all costs. So again, not really much of an analog specifically with tarot because it's not really going into, oh, this is the beginning of your journey. You got to kind of have faith, take that leap of faith in with that. It's just, no, it's kind of an actual objective thing with that. So you can see where those. So, oh, cat needs to not do that. Okay, so you go through, okay, broken one, that's kind of neat. So it's kind of gothy art anyway. It's basically black and white. I don't really think there's any color in this. The art's kind of neat. I like the mists. Oops, let me do this center a little bit. This is a place I would actually go to and spend time in and hang out, unironically. So, and I want to sort of notice too, you see how it's like a playing card. I don't know why I keep going off to the side, because I'm trying to see my own face, I guess. You see how it's like a playing card, the way the numbers are? You know, you have upside down and right side up, even though the picture isn't reversible, but the name of it is both on top and bottom. And is that, no, it's swords. Okay, 3 of swords is soldier. Yeah, I'm guessing that is supposed to be smoke then. I mean, there does seem to be a clear sort of right side up, but I'm guessing that if for some reason you would, when you're shuffling them and mixing them, if you shuffle and mix them where now they'll be alternating sides, I don't see anywhere that says that that's supposed to be meaning something different. And especially since the names, whoops, where am I? The names are sort of on both, the numbers are sort of on both with that. If you do happen to then have it where you do pull something upside down, it doesn't seem that if it would change the meaning. Now, again, this is made up for a game, which, you know, the tarot cards originally were too. I mean, the history of tarot seems to state that originally, yeah, it was a card game, and they were made off of these card games, and then this sort of divinatorial meanings and hermeticism and all this other stuff was applied to it later. So, so that, I mean, that can be all made up. And again, there are some people when they do readings that don't do anything with reversals or inverted or anything else like that too. Reversal was the word I was trying to look for. So that's basically it. I won't go through all 54 cards with that. This has already been wandering on long enough. So that was just it. I mean, it's sort of an unboxing, sort of a going over something that I just learned about. I thought was kind of neat. Um, I don't know how much I am going to get into. Oh, I'm going to learn about all these and their meaning and the little blurb about them or something like that. It's like 54 cards. It's a lot. And if there's since um, the suits don't seem to have a specific elemental purpose to them, which is helpful in understanding the meaning of the cards. So that way you don't have to memorize what every single one does. If you know, okay, swords, like we talked about, swords is like your intellect. It's the air element. It's talking about like thinking and mind and things like that. Pentacles or coins is the earth element. That's more, work. It's, some of them is like, oh, it's talking about the actual work that you do. It's talking about maybe finances and things like that. And then combined with that, yeah, that sort of hermetic, even pre-hermetic, like Pythagorean sort of numerology. So, one means this, two means this, five, six, seven means these sort of, four, everything is pretty balanced for you. It's square, but five is off. It's not that great of a number for you to get because it's throwing you off being squared. Uh, yeah, that's sort of, I think it's Pythagorean sort of numerology in with that too. So it does not look like it's the meanings of this have been applied in that way. And I don't know how much the rest of the game is going to get into um, having these other meanings. Again, I would imagine the pull that we got, or at least because we did kind of two, the one was already sort of stacked in terms of what the campaign wanted you to say, and then the clarification, because I had my character ask for a clarification, so you can do that in tarot readings and you get a clarification card or a clarification pool about this. So I ask about that because it would have been something that my character would reasonably have known about and asked for. Not because I was trying to make my DM's life more difficult, because it was legitimately a character-based decision. So I don't know what the rest of the campaign is, so I don't know if 54 is these 54 cards are going to be specific to specific things that they have in store in the campaign, or it was someone came up with these and then ran with it even further than just, the 4 or 5 cards that they wanted to do for the one time sort of thing. So since we already have this idea for a tarot analog in here, let's just run with it. And if that is what they did, they did not run with it as completely in terms of, okay, well, ones are going to mean this, and twos are going to mean this, and threes are going to mean this across the board. They're going to have that sort of baseline meaning and ability for you to understand in terms of, okay, this suit has this sort of foundational meaning, this number has this foundational meaning, it should mean this together, how those work together, yeah, okay. And then since it has a MasterCard and MasterCard instead of court cards, because the court cards also uh, correspond to elements as well. So, the different places of the element of the different court card and all that. I can't remember exactly what they go, isn't it? I think page is earth, knight is air, queen is water, king is fire, maybe. So, the that will give you meanings to if you really really get into it, then the interplay between the elements and then the numbers and all that has its meaning too. So instead of learning what 72 cards mean, you understand that interplay and can play with it as you go. Does not look like, I could be wrong, does not look like this deck was set up with that amount of um, sort of intrinsic meaning in these foundational levels between the suits and the numbers, and a master of that or something like that too. It does make sense to have a 10th card in the suit be the sort of supreme thing, because usually, 9 is the material completion, 10 is the more sort of spiritual completion beyond that. And that, again, that's that sort of Pythagorean numerology system in terms of magical, traditional sort of Western magical number theory, I guess, with that. Definitely going to be different if we're talking about, Taoism or something. But, okay. Did you get it? Sorry. Luna Arya's, she's not necessarily terrassing around, but she went up on the love seat, saw something, jumped to probably a good 5.5, close to 6 feet. Like, she pounced, and then she did a wall run back up the other way and around, and she's got this little battle meep that she does. That's adorable. She's really talky. She's really verbal, and then she'll give a little sort of battle meep as she goes. She's cat, as she almost just face planted too. Oh, wild hair up the ass sort of time now. Ears are back, tail's going around. She is in 3 different angles. Okay, so sorry, I got distracted by my little kitten. I say your little kitten, she's like 12. No. Wait. Shit. 10. You're 10. Yeah, she turned 10 this year. She's still like a little baby kitten. Took her about 5 years to fill out from looking like a little weasel. She actually looks like a cat now, but anyway. So, Tarroka deck from Dungeons and Dragons, the Curse of Strahd campaign. Tarot-ish, but not completely tarot adjacent. Well, no, maybe tarot adjacent, but just not completely a, sort of one-to-one tarot analog. They didn't completely just translate it over. It's, they put work and effort into kind of creating something different enough. I mean, different enough you could probably, like, not even, if tarot cards or something were a specific copyrighted thing. I mean, the art style actually is, and, depending upon who's doing what of the pictures, everyone, the Rider-Waite Smith is usually or the Marseillais are like the 2 main sort of basis of ones, but, you can't just copy someone else's art and use that as your own. You can't copy someone else's meaning. I mean, all the meanings are going to be similar, but, you have to use your own words for it. It looks like this wasn't even an attempt to do that. It was an attempt to have something like it, but doing its own thing as well. I did not see... Hold on. I talked about those other things and I didn't see them. Nope. Nope, those are cards that just fell out. Doesn't seem to be any false sort of things. Nothing else fell out. Right. Squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. Is there new? Okay, I don't know where this. So the 54 cards, yes. Okay, includes 54 Tarroka cards, handy for a trek through Barovia, as well as Prophet's Gambit, a card game for 3 to 5 players. Okay, so for a second, I thought, oh, is there supposed to be, a meaning? A lot of times tarot cards will come with like a little booklet that will tell you the meaning and, a quick little blurb about this or anything else like that. So I thought there would be a pamphlet with that and then something how to play the Prophet's Gambit game. But it was like, oh, no, these are the cards and it's good for this or that with it. Okay, for a second, I misunderstood. So yeah, there we have it. Oh, credit where due. Art by Chuck Lucas, Lukacs. So credit where due on that. Okay, so thanks for watching. This is just, a little 40-minute trip down a real nerdy sort of path here. So thank you for watching and or listening. And please do all the YouTubey stuff like subscribe, hit the little bell, tell your friends, and be safe.